Welcome to my 2020 Tesla Model 3 Standard Range Plus. Named her Tess. Tesla's just a little bit easier. Today I've got my sidekick Piper, my Aussie Shepherd, and we are cruising today on Highway 133 here in Colorado up to McClure Pass. This will take us all the way from Carbondale in the Roaring Fork Valley over to Paonia. However, we're not going to go that far. It also takes you to Marble, Colorado, and Redstone, Colorado. Beautiful towns to come and visit, especially an electric car. Peaceful, quiet drive. So we have a high elevation gain on this road. I come from Glenwood Springs, which is just shy of 6,000 feet in altitude. And we'll be heading up towards almost 10,000 feet in altitude on McClure Pass. So quite a high of elevation gain. However, it has been a very efficient drive. I've been averaging 279 watt miles an hour. I believe that's how you say it. You guys can correct me, of course, because this is the internet. And the internet is the place to get corrected on everything. When I first started my drive to get to McClure, I put in McClure Pass as the destination. And the computer trip told me that I would be arriving at the top, the peak of McClure Pass with 48% battery. However, I've been driving on Highway 133 on autopilot entirely, which is about 55 miles per hour. Although that's not what the rest of the population wants you to drive. However, it has been a very efficient car. So let's take a look at the tripometer. So if we go to our energy and look at our consumption here, my projected range right now that I have is 107 miles at a 57% battery charge. And if I click on trip, I was originally going to be arriving with about 48% battery, and now it's predicting 51% based on my driving habits, which has been sticking to the speed limit. Just a note, Colorado 133, once you leave Carbondale, you do lose service. You won't have any LTE once you leave the town of Carbondale. This starts my daily drive here, so I've been averaging 279 watts a mile. I've gotten 13 kilowatts so far. I got this car delivered on December 11, and it is now December 23. So I've gone 967 miles. I'm hoping to hit 1,000 today. I've got a total of 247 kilowatt hours, and I've been averaging 256 watt miles with the odometer at 267. It has been a fantastic car for our family. It is our family car, and it has just done everything we have asked it to do. Our town has several free level 2 public chargers, and we've been using those as well as our own home charging. And it has just been a fantastic car. I have a few things that bother me a little bit and a few things that bother my wife very differently. But we can talk about those as well. But as long as you're with me, let's drive up to the top of McClure Pass and see what's up there. By the way, a little background on me. I am an elementary educator. I've been following the Tesla story ever since the Model S first came out in 2012 and started investing with Tesla. So as a disclaimer here, I am an investor in Tesla. Back in 2013 when I could afford one share. Now I currently own 4. And this has really been a dream come true to take delivery of a 2020 Model 3. Living in the state of Colorado is really what allowed that to happen. The state of Colorado has a tax credit, has a tax credit of $5,000 as well as the federal tax credit of currently $1,875, I believe is what it is. So I was able to take delivery before end of year. So I'm hoping to maximize both of those incentives, as well as I had a 2016 Jetta. I had bought the Jetta for 2 reasons. One was Apple CarPlay, and 2 for the 40 mile per gallon rating that the car was getting, but I was mostly getting 35, if I'm going to be honest. But I got that car for its affordability and its ability to save on gas while still having some technology, even though by that point, of course, Tesla was the leader in infotainment systems. But being able to take advantage of the tax credits here in the state of Colorado, as well as selling my Jetta, and then, of course, anytime my wife and I purchase a car, the last several times we purchased cars, it was in cash. And so we've been always just setting aside a little nest egg, knowing for whenever our car would fall apart or need a major repair. And so we decided as a family to pull the trigger and get a Tesla before the tax credits disappeared and lowered. And to see how much affordability we can have. Our goal is to pay off the car as soon as possible. My wife was definitely not thrilled to take on a car loan because the last several times we purchased a car, it was in cash. However, once this car is paid off, all we're paying for is electricity, which in the state of Colorado, we're using Excel, and we're not going to use a time of use plan at the moment. And currently we're paying 11 cents a kilowatt hour. With a 55 kilowatt hour battery, that comes to around $5, in counting for loss of efficiency from the charge, but around $5 to go from 0% to 100%. That's significant, as well as using those free public chargers in town. There's a free public charger, 5-minute walk from my school, and there's a free public charger that's a 5-minute walk from my house. Now it's December. We live in Colorado in the mountains. It's not like I'm enjoying a 5-minute walk to work in the cold morning. But it's not the end of the world. It's a 5-minute walk, and it's free electricity. And free is free, right? But this has been a great car for our family. We have 2 girls in our family, as well as my wife and I, and it has just been the perfect size for us. It has nearly as much storage, or I would almost say as much storage as a Highlander when you account for the frunk and the huge bins that are inside the 2020 Model 3, as well as the, I like to call it the trunk within a trunk. Because there's no gas tank, there is another additional trunk underneath the regular size trunk, as well as some cubby bins on the side. So it's been a perfect car for us as a family. For the new year, we are going to be road tripping to Omaha, Nebraska to visit my wife's family, and we'll cover what that looks like. I am personally a little nervous about doing this winter road trip, just simply because it's a new car, and it just feels like we're always plugging the car in, and that's because we should be plugging the car in all the time. But when you go from visiting a gas station once a week, once every other week, to you're plugging in your car every day, you have that perception of, does this car just not go very far? And it's just a matter of like, it's not that, it's just that the car's battery health increases, or I should say maintains, when it's always plugged in. And we always charge up to 80%. I started this drive at 80%. Now I'm down to 58% after getting some elevation gain, dropped the girls off for a play date, and now we're going to be heading up to the top of McClure, which is an additional elevation gain. But it's been a great car for our family. My wife has finally gotten comfortable with autopilot after 12 days of driving with it. And it's been a huge blessing to be able to be in the safest car built. And knowing that my wife, who's already a little bit of a timid driver, and then our kids are just going to be taken care of should they get into an accident. And no one wants to be in an accident, and there is no safe accidents, but to know that this car is the safest car out on the road is very helpful. I've been blabbering on a lot. I'm really excited about this car, and I just like talking about this car. So just bear with me with my excitement, but let's go up McClure and go take a look at the top of the pass. We are nearing Marble, Colorado. If you ever have a chance to drive on Highway 133 here in Colorado, you must visit Marble, Colorado. It is one of my favorite places to visit in this area of the valley, the Crystal River Valley. It has one of the best barbecue restaurants I've ever been to. It's pretty much the only restaurant in Marble, Colorado, and that probably attributes to some of why it's the best. Once you get the drive up here, you're already pretty hungry. There's a nice, decent line waiting for it. But the food is phenomenal. The staff there are great, and Marble's just got this great small town mountain feel to it that you just can't find anywhere else. I can't recommend more than being able to visit Marble, Colorado. So if you ever make it to Highway 133, the West Elk Scenic Loop, please visit Marble, Colorado, and please go to Slow Groovin' Barbecue. An amazing place to go. All right, now we're going to be passing this intersection here. We are now entering McClure Pass, and we'll be getting some high elevation gain. All right, so I switched my consumption graph here to the last 5 miles. So we'll be able to see the more dramatic change here as we start climbing. You can already start seeing the graph is growing due to our increase in altitude as we go up gradient. I think it's about 6 or 8% gradient heading up McClure Pass, but of course I might be wrong and Colorado people correct me. But we are in autopilot and we are going up the pass. Vail Pass heading towards Eisenhower Tunnel and Loveland Pass, those are all places that most Tesla owners will be traveling as they go through I-70 corridor heading either through Denver or over towards Utah. And those mountain passes are very attainable in a Tesla. Very smooth, very quiet. And one of the best things I love about autopilot as a Coloradan is that it maintains its speed. Oh, yep, there we go. It maintains its speed going down the passes. You know, if you put on cruise control in your car and it still starts barreling down the pass at a really high rate of speed, but autopilot will maintain speed going down a pass. And that has been a huge stress reliever heading down those passes, and you know you got semi trucks around you, and you know that you have a lot of cars that are just right on your tailgate, and knowing that you can head up a pass and not worry about the speed differential has just been huge. Plus the regen and regaining the battery. I mean, I've regained almost up to 8 miles in charge just going down Vail Pass, which has been just phenomenal. Okay, we can take a look at our graph now. We went from having over 100 miles in range to now about 77 projected on the 5 mile consumption range, but that's to be expected when you're at a high incline going up. And then heading back down, we should see regen happening. I'm now at 54% at the rated battery. And I am, that's my lifetime. Let's go down to a daily drive. I'm now up to 291. It's probably going to keep going up here as we keep going up the pass. And of course, my sidekick here is sleeping the whole time. I have such a lazy dog, but I love her. I love my lazy dog. That's Mount Sopris right over there. The famous peak that juts up between Carbondale and heading over towards the Basalt area. That splits the Crystal River Valley and the Roaring Fork Valley. It's very picturesque. It takes about 2 days to summit. You can probably do it in 1 day, but it's a long hike. So most people usually split it up by staying the night at Thompson Lake. Mount Sopris view. And we are nearly at the top of McClure. You can see I'm now down to 64 miles of rated range, but I'm also now nearing the top of McClure Pass, so I should be hitting the end here pretty soon. It's a beautiful day to be out here. Temperature's about 33 degrees, which is about 1 degree. About 1 degree for our friends in the Celsius world. I lived in China for 6 years as an international teacher and got very comfortable with metric units. It took me a long time when we moved back to the States to get back to the imperial system, but you get used to things. All right, so it seems like I'm flatlining here. I'm going to be getting some more altitude gain here in a little bit, and the last little stretch up to McClure. I have been in autopilot for the majority of this climb. Rated range is now 57 miles. Ah, hope I can get home. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. I love this mountain valley. Crystal River Valley, Colorado Road 133. It's the most beautiful drive, in my opinion, in the area. Of course, it's just one person's opinion. All right, we're coming up to the top of McClure Pass, where I'm down to 53 miles of range, going uphill based on the 5-mile range consumption. If I switch over to 30-mile consumption, I am projected at 85 miles with an instant range of 35. That's funny. And now nearing the top, just so quiet. The ride is just beautiful. Can't recommend this drive more than enough. On the other side of this pass is Paonia. In Paonia, there is a solar company that does have a Tesla wall connector open to the public. So if you get to the top of this peak and you're really freaking out about range, you can stop over at Paonia and charge up using their Tesla connector. It is on the PlugShare app. All right. And we just got to the top of Paonia, or Paonia, McClure Pass. All right, so people of YouTube, you don't need to correct me, or well, you will probably will anyways. But I'm looking at McClure Pass summit. I'm at an elevation of 8,755 feet. So I was off by almost 1,000 feet in my estimate of where the top of the summit would be. The car just went up splendidly, quiet. No engine noise. I had a Subaru Forester once, and it would just whine going up the hill. And, excuse me, I just had a fantastic drive, silent, just really enjoyable. The projected range was interesting to watch as it shot way up. And now what I'm hoping to see is that range then normalize as I head back down the pass. My girls' play date will be done here in a little bit, so I gotta go pick them up, and my time alone with the car alone will be over soon. But again, this is the 2020 Model 3, and it has just been a phenomenal car to drive on the mountain passes, in the cold. I'm not a big fan of how quickly the range does drop in the cold weather, but you know, you research a bunch of EVs and electric vehicles, and you're going to find that anywhere, with any model, with any car, that just the cold does not play well with electric car batteries. But the same thing is true with combustion engines too. You know, it takes more to idle, warm up, to drive, and especially going up passes, it uses up your gas mileage a whole lot more. So it's not like it doesn't happen to non-electric vehicle cars. I think it's just more pronounced in an electric vehicle, especially since the range is already shorter as it is. The EPA range of this Model 3 is 250 miles. I was about to order the Model 3 back when the projected range, or the EPA range, was 240 miles, and it was before the price bump went up by $500. I waited 3 days. I went back onto the Tesla website, and bloop, there was a change. And, you know, in the grand scheme of a car price, $500 is not significant. As a very budgeted family, $500 is significant. So we did have a conversation about that. But in the long run, we felt like it made more sense to move in this direction than to maintain a aging combustion engine car. Anyways, we're going to head down McClure Pass, and let's take a look at our energy consumption as we go down. Thanks for sticking with me. Okay, autopilot has been activated. We are at the summit of McClure Pass, and we are now heading down. And let's see how well the 2020 Model 3 handles this windy down valley pass. And that direction right there is towards Marble, Colorado. And we are heading towards Glenwood Springs via Carbondale. And like I mentioned earlier, we're now heading down the gradient, but the car keeps the speed at the rated speed level, which is just phenomenal. When I'm driving a combustion engine and I put on cruise control, even if I'm heading down a pass, I find myself having to turn off cruise control and then downshift the car to a lower gear just to even maintain a semi-safe speed. But you don't have to do that in the Tesla. You just put it on autopilot or even just put on cruise control, and the electric battery motor will maintain the speed while working on the regen. Oh, let's keep that consumption up. And that has been just an amazing feature for someone living in Colorado. All right, so on the 5-mile consumption graph, I was heading up to the top, and I had a projected range of 35 miles. Now that I'm heading down, you can see the green bar here. The car is regenerating energy back to the battery, and my projected range is, of course, increasing. Gosh, isn't that beautiful? Just incredible. Such a blessing to be able to live in an area like this. Here in rural Colorado, there are, of course, the supercharger link is on I-70 interstate. However, there are a lot of plans to start expanding that supercharger network to being in the more rural areas of Colorado, especially the south and central area of Colorado. If you take a look at the supercharger map, there's not a lot of charging in rural Colorado beyond I-70. However, if you go on the PlugShare app, there are just tons and tons of level 2 chargers in a lot of these rural towns. And these towns are super cute. They deserve your time. And so, plug into a level 2 charger, stay for a couple hours, have a meal, and then you're good to go for the next rural town. My projected range has now already gotten down to almost 90 miles. Probably going to get down back to 100 miles when we get to the bottom of the hill here. And of course, we're heading down McClure, and then we're going to be on 133 heading downwards. So even heading back towards Carbondale and Glenwood, my range is just going to keep increasing because it is a down valley drive. Yep, there we go. Hit the 100 mark on 5-mile graph for regen. The speed limit here is 40 miles an hour. That's not usually what people do, but I'm letting autopilot just to keep it and maintain it. And my watt average has also gone back down. Sorry for all the sniffles and ums and stuff, guys. This is my first video, and I'm not scripted right now, and 2, this is not showing that I'm a very clear educator. But my students can deal with me. Okay, here's a tight turn. Let's see if autopilot can handle this tight turn. Okay, my hand's on the wheel to take over if I need to. My dog's looking at me nervously. Either that or she's just super bored. Ooh, tight turn. But it still did it. It was an autopilot, and it handled this really tight turn. We have another tight turn coming up. These turns are much tighter than you'd see on the passes at Vail or at Loveland on I-70, Eisenhower Tunnel area. That was the tightest turn. We're actually almost now down at the bottom of the McClure. My range has got to 250 miles if I maintain like this. That's insane. I went from 35 to 247. That's crazy. That's crazy talk. All right, here comes another tight turn. An advertisement there for slow grooving. Oh my gosh, you guys, you have to get that barbecue if you do this drive. Just do this drive just for the barbecue alone. Oh. Except they are closed from October 31 until Memorial Day. That's just kind of the way things go here in the mountain towns. And we're coming up to this intersection here, which is the end of McClure Pass. My Model 3 just did McClure Pass, those windy roads, on autopilot. I did have my hand on the wheel for the tightest turns, but it did handle it on its own. And I had regen the whole way down. In fact, it's saying now almost 1,000 miles in rated range from the 5-mile mark of consumption. If I hit 30, my projected range is more normalized, about 109 miles of range left at 53% battery. And if I click instant range, I am back to 1,000. All right. It's still 40 miles an hour here. Of course, people go barreling down here around 55, 60. So, you know, take it with a grain of salt. Be careful on these back roads here because people will drive them like it's interstate speeds. A lot of rock slides happen on 133, so you just have to be careful. Eye on the road. I'm not quite sure yet if autopilot manages objects on the road, such as rocks. So you do have to stay vigilant, especially on these back, on these back roads. All right, so we've been heading down McClure Pass and being able to take a look at how well does it do back road mountain passes. And by back road, I mean non-interstate speed passes. You know, a real back roads pass. You know, it's like heading up to Crystal Mill from Marble and then heading over to Crested Butte and doing those gnarly back roads. Doing Kroll Pass, which is a gravel road that's closed in the wintertime from this road over to Crested Butte as well. There's just a lot of back road passes that are paved. And when I say back road passes, like, they're smaller, they're paved, they're windier, they connect small mountain towns to other mountain towns, but a passenger car could drive that pass, not needing a lifted Jeep or something with clearance to make work. But this car handled McClure Pass in Colorado Highway 133 phenomenally. And I believe I would have gotten enough range going down the pass to get over to Paonia and back with plenty to spare. Range anxiety has not really been a huge issue in the Standard Range Plus. Just more of trying to figure out what the limits are in our daily driving. We do have a Highlander for when we have a lot of people around with us, we have big things we need to drive around. But ever since getting the Tesla, we've been trying to figure out how far can we go without having to use the Highlander, especially since we have free public chargers in the town that we live in, as well as the cheap electricity in our home. So we've gone 12 days without using our Highlander, and so all the miles we've been doing lately have been in our Standard Range Plus Tesla. And it's been working well for us. We've, let me slow it down for it. We've been driving to Grand Junction. I came over from Denver when I picked up the car from delivery. They could have, we live so far from Denver that we could have had the car delivered to our home. Instead, I opted to take a day. I rode the Mustang, which is kind of basically a Colorado's version of the Greyhound. I took the Mustang to Denver. Someone from the Denver Tesla Owner Club picked me up. Props to the Denver. I mean, the Tesla community is amazing. They've been helping out with deliveries at the Littleton Service Center. Just you guys at the Denver Tesla Owners Club are just a phenomenal group of people, and I'm really excited to be part of that club with you guys. Other than driving to Denver or Grand Junction, we haven't really been doing long trips. We have a long road trip to Omaha coming up to visit the in-laws for the new year, and that will be the first test of our long-distance Midwest winter driving. And if you guys know anything about Omaha, Kansas, Wyoming, the Dakotas, they just get a lot of wind. And everything I've been reading and hearing about is that wind is the biggest factor in losing, other than cold, in losing range. And I'm not going to be necessarily too worried about that, because I do know that there's enough superchargers and they're distanced just well enough that I could... Oh, hi, Piper. Oh, you're going to sniff the camera. Sniff, 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 sniff. She doesn't want me talking to you guys. She wants my attention. There are enough superchargers to make that trip manageable. I think the huge thing right now is that there's Hulu and Netflix and YouTube in version 10 that if we need to supercharge 30-40 minutes, well, for one, it takes us 15 minutes to go to the bathroom. My wife's bladder schedule is we would probably need to go to the bathroom every time that we stop at a supercharger. But the fact that we could watch Curious George, or we could watch, you know, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie on Hulu. One thing that I would love to see added is Disney Plus for our family, and I'd love to see Amazon Prime Video. Those are two big streaming services that I do think Tesla should work out a deal with for families, especially as more Model 3 owners and even Model Y owners start getting into the market. There are going to be a lot of families, a lot of kids, and you know, Netflix is great, but there's not a lot of kids. Like, we got Disney Plus because of the one, childhood memories. DuckTales, Rescue Rangers, come on, that's awesome. I just gave away how old I am. And for my wife, it's Boy Meets World. Oh man, she's so excited about that. Boy Meets World? Boy Meets World. Ugh, blah. Can't get that out of my mouth. But we are super excited that we just have options for our family when supercharging. And we take these breaks anyways. I was looking at a Better Route Planner, which is an amazing website for putting together a road trip. And it's not going to be super accurate, but it'll be a good estimate. And we'd be stopping at all the places we need to be stopping anyways for our family to stretch our legs, use the bathroom, you know, get a meal. And so it's not like, I mean, if it was my wife and I, yeah, we would just be plowing through this road trip to get to Omaha as quickly as possible. But with the kids, you can't necessarily do that all the time. So this is going to be a really great experiment to see, is road tripping in a Tesla Model 3 Standard Range Plus good for families, especially in the wintertime. So keep in check for my channel, and you can follow along with me on that road trip. I do have a referral code, so if you are interested in getting a Tesla Model 3, I mean, there's so many great people out there on YouTube who have their own channels, who have their own reviews. I'm just a blabbering fool right now because, one, I'm not scripted. This is my first video, and I've just, you know, I'm so excited, and I just start talking about all kinds of things. I'm the kind of teacher that a kid asks a question and we go on a rabbit hole, and then all of a sudden, whoop, they got out of doing homework. No, that doesn't really happen. Go do your homework, kids. But again, if you're looking to get a Tesla Model 3 for a family, and you're a family of 4, a family of 3, I mean, even a family of 5, you know, the back seats are pretty good. Our girls finally got tall enough that they don't need the booster seats. They're tall enough, old enough, and heavy enough that they don't need booster seats for the seat belts, because the way the seats are designed in the Model 3, the leg space is just a little bit shorter as well, so their feet can actually touch the ground at the right angle that they need to not be in a booster seat, as well as the seat belts on their shoulder and on their waist. But a family of 5 can make it work in here because the seats are flat. There's no transmission bump on the back seats. So your middle seat sitter is not going to get super uncomfortable. And then, of course, with all the storage space, a family of 5 could make it work if you needed to. As it is, we're a family of 4, and it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect for us. So yeah, look into it. I mean, if the numbers don't work, the numbers don't work. And like, there's so many people out there who are, you know, the Tesla budget. They stretch their budget to make it work. And we didn't do that. We looked at the cost of how much we're paying per gas every month, and we looked at the data for a year and a half of how much money have we actually been spending on gas. And it turns out that we were on some months spending more than what a car payment on the Tesla would be for us. So if it doesn't work, just keep saving and keep saving. It will work eventually. And there's plenty of used Model S's out there that are now the equivalent price of a brand new Volkswagen Jetta or a Camry. And those cars, if their batteries were treated well, are still getting the same amount of range that a Standard Range Plus would be getting, with bigger room too. You just wouldn't have all the latest hardware for the full self-driving, which I'm not going to pay $7,000 for full self-driving when the basic version of autopilot is more than enough for me. But yeah, if you're looking to get a Tesla, hey, help a brother out. Use my referral code. There'll be a link here in the video. Just have fun. It's just a great car to drive. Well, my phone battery died as I was on that drive, and I rambled on a whole lot. But I just want to thank you for sticking with me and just going on these road trips with me for the first time as I explore my new Tesla. This is a new venture for my family to go into something this new and this, I don't want to say unproven because Tesla's been around for a while, but something that's just unfamiliar for the norm of our family. We will be taking this road trip to Omaha here in the next week, and we're definitely going to be filming our experiences and just seeing what it's like to do a road trip through the Midwest in the winter in a standard range plus. We will also be just kind of talking about our pros and cons of just, I mean, it's a great car, but it's not a perfect car. And there's definitely some things that could definitely use some improvements, which is amazing that, I mean, right now there's a software update just waiting for the car, and I believe it's the one that allows you to interact with your phone with text messages, which is going to be huge, as well as some new visualizations, I believe, since it does have hardware 3. But this car really belongs to my wife. And she's driven it almost more than I have. And she's been able to pick up on a lot of insights. She's a very practical, pragmatic woman. I love her for that. And she's really been able to dial in on here's some things that had a mom engineered this car. Here are some things that I would have liked to have seen, at least in the physical aspects of the car and in terms of the UI with the big screen. But again, welcome to my channel and my video, and I hope you enjoyed going on this road trip with me, and definitely keep in touch with any of the traveling that we do. My goal is to help explore rural Colorado with electric cars and to show that you can live in a rural, non-urban environment and still make it on an electric car. So please stick with me and come explore the Wild West with the future. That was super lame.